All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Purity is Precious podcast, episode number 3. Let's get it. Okay, so this week's topic we are talking about, should my purity be kept secret? If you're trekking along with me, you notice that up in episode number 2, I kind of touched a little bit about making sure that we don't talk about it or say certain things, so that a lot of times people are extremely secretive in regards to their sexual abstinence or their purity, especially if they are virgins. You hear more people that are celibate talk about it, but you don't hear many people that are virgins talk about it or announce that they are, with great reason. So I wanted to get up here and to talk to you all about this specific topic on whether or not it should or should not be kept secret. And so I know for a fact that this is definitely a question that many people have or many people struggle with. And once again, we are definitely reference especially to referring, should I say, for lack of better words. We are definitely referring to people that are virgins. If they should keep their sexual status a secret, or if they should be open about it or whatever. So definitely we want to touch on that today. I'm super excited about this one. And yes, ma'am. Let us just jump right on into it. So, y'all, honestly, when we talk about this topic or whatnot, it is definitely something that has come off as kind of taboo. For me personally, it's something that I don't necessarily talk about too much. And if you've been, hearing me talk throughout episode 1 and 2, you have probably heard me kind of dance around it myself or whatnot. And you've probably been left with some questions like, is she a virgin? Is she celibate? Is she abstinence? What is she? What is Precious like? Because I'm having a hard time tracking with her. Well, I am a virgin. I am 33 years old, and it is severely by the grace of God that I have lasted this long. And so, this is exactly why this Purity is Precious podcast is very dear to my heart. It is very dear to me, or whatnot. And this is why I said you all can consider me the little big sis of purity. So, if you're younger than me, I am your big sis. If you are older than me, I am your little big sis of purity, because there are so many things that I definitely can talk about in regards to this. There's so many things that I want to talk about in regards to this. So, we're going to be trekking together through some things, because there have been plenty of times that I have felt like, what the world am I doing? How did I get this far? How did I last this long? The whole nine. If you have the questions, I've had the questions as well. And now I'm in a place where I'm pretty much good in my life, and especially in this particular arena. And so I now have the answers for you. So if that was your questionnaire that you've been wondering and wanted to know about me and the whole nine, you now have your answer. I'm not going to repeat it, but you have your answer. Okay? Okay. So let's talk about if our purity should be kept secret. The pros and cons of discussing or sharing your sexual status is, we're going to actually start off with the pros first, because I don't want to do the pros and the cons together. Let's do just the pros. Let's talk about the pros of, actually, let me get serious. Because, yeah, this is where we are. But the pros of sharing your sexual status is, you give other women the opportunity to think in regards to them valuing themselves more and on a deeper level. So if you are someone that feels confident enough and comfortable with a particular group of people or a particular group of women to share your status, especially if you are a virgin, then you will be able to help other women to think in a completely different perspective in regards to their own personal lives and in regards to where they are with their sexuality or whatnot. They may not be a virgin, but hey, because of your stance on purity and you still abstaining and remaining a virgin, you may be able to help someone else to be like, okay, If she's doing it, then maybe I can do it, and maybe I can abstain, and maybe I should try to do celibacy or whatnot. So it could be a trickle down domino effect. And then if there is someone that's there or whatever in that same circle that may be still a virgin or whatnot, that was probably in a position where she's been going back and forth in her mind in regards if she should give it up or give it to someone, just that information from you sometimes could actually help that person to abstain and to last longer. We talked about building a community of women with this group. That's like my ultimate goal with this is to build a safe place, a no judgment, no condemnation zone of women that are choosing to be abstinent, choosing to remain virgins until marriage, or choosing to be celibate, or whatever it is that you're choosing to do in regards to your sexual status. We are creating a community of women where you all can come and actually begin to develop and understand the value of what is between your legs, as well as the value of keeping your heart and your mind and your soul in the right proper context and in the right posture. And so, with you being open about your sexuality or your status or wherever you are in regards to it, you possibly can help a young lady that may be observing you from a distance that you did not necessarily know was observing you and watching you, um, make a decision to abstain as well. And that is so good. That's so important because you want that type of community. You want that type of influence to have on someone else. And it's a positive, it's a positive influence. And so this thing is important. And I think that that will be a pro because you never know who's watching. You never know like who's around. You never know what people are saying. You never know what people are thinking. However, you have the ability and authority to help gauge a conversation, to help gauge a perspective, to help gauge uh, um, another opportunity to sow a good seed into someone else, and it's just based upon your own personal stance and your own personal belief. It's not you trying to force what you believe onto someone else, because keep in mind that's not what we're doing. That's not what we do. That's not what I do here at Purity is Precious. What I do here at Purity is Precious is that I can create a community of women to feel safe, to endure on their journey into sexual wholeness, into sexual purity, into sexual abstinence, into maintaining their virginities. I'm creating a community of women and letting them know that they are not a disease. And I use that word, I say the word disease mainly because it is so um, like I said, it's so shocking, it's so taboo, it's so, people are usually taken back once they discover that you lasted a lot longer than what the average person has. And that's something that I experience quite a bit. I said, but what it is that you become more aware and more informed in regards to those things. And so another pro of sharing your sexual status is the simple fact that you become an expert, you become a leader, and you become an example. And I actually said that in the in the wrong order. You become an example, you become a leader, and then you become an expert. And so, and really, when I talk about an expert, because I consider myself an expert of purity because I've been doing this for quite some time now. And one of my good friends actually referenced to me as not even an expert. She said, "Girl, you are a master of purity." And when she said that, that resonated with me. So now, it's on my website now. It's on the purityisprecious.com website where I reference to myself as a master of purity because sometimes people can help you identify things in you and traits in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself right off the bat. But she said, Precious, you have literally mastered this walk, mastered purity and things of that nature. And so you become an example. Now, even though, like I stated, in my personal relationships and even with the girls that I mentor or whatnot, all of my girls that I mentor, even the ones that are in their teens, they are all not virgins. And then even the ones that I mentor, even my friends, should I say, they are all not virgins. Do I have some friends that are? Absolutely. But they are all not. And yet I become to an extent some form of a example to them where they look up to me in regards to that, and it's like it's kind of admirable to them, whatever. So you become an example, and then all of a sudden you start to, as you grow and as you learn and as you gauge yourself and as you posture yourself in this thing, you become a leader. You start to learn how to lead and how to effectively lead and things of that nature. And so even with me, Purity Expression started about a good 5 years ago. And well, it's coming up to the 5th year anniversary, and it has been a lot of ups and downs and transitions or whatnot. And as I stated, when I first started Purity Expressions, I started off with 11 to 17-year olds. And now here I am talking to mostly adults now, because with this type of podcast that I'm doing, the odds of me having the teens listening to this, they will, but it's very slim. I'm more than likely going to attract an older generation such as myself. So I'm more than likely going to attract the 18 to 35-year olds, or the 18 to 40, or the 18 to 50s, however old you are, it doesn't matter. But now I'm branching into a more mature, should I say, generation of women that I'm going to now shift into mentoring on this particular journey. And so as I have grown and as I matured and developed, I had people who was starting to call out the next level that we should go to. And so the next level was to go to the more mature age bracket. And so that's where we are. And that's why the podcast was started. However, I'm showing you how I went from being an example to a leader, and now I'm ready to lead a whole different bracket of women in this walk and even in this journey. So as you start to learn how to lead, you have to become an expert. And as I grew in the expertise of purity, in the expertise of virginity, in the expertise of abstaining and things of that nature, I started to learn more about myself. Everything that I've done in regards to this whole podcast, in regards to Purity is Precious, has all been an unraveling of self. And that's mainly because I started to become one with who I am. I started to embrace the fact that, yeah, you are a 30-year-old virgin. You are still there or whatever. But I had to learn myself, okay, so how do we get to this place? What is it about me? Where did I learn where to say no at? How did I learn how to say thank you? That sounds good and that sounds appetizing. And I really like that offer that you put on the table for me, sir. But I think that we should just remain friends. I've learned how to do those things. And as you begin to understand yourself more and more and more, you will begin to get to a place where it's like you're no longer um, easily influenced. And so you go from being an example to a leader, and then from a leader to an expert. One of the other things that is definitely a pro to sharing your sexual desire, to sharing your sexual status, is that you show yourself and those looking up to you that there is more to life than sex, and your self value is unprecedented. We are in a time in life or whatnot where everybody is just into self gratification. So it doesn't matter how they get it, who they get it from, when they get it, and if they get it. They are all just in a place where they are in a place where they want to be self gratified. And so a lot of times self gratification comes in many more different facets than just sex. But with the way that the world is set up and with the way that pop culture is set up and everything like that, we are being bombarded mentally and emotionally and physically and visually with a lot of things that has to do with sex. You hear sex on the radio, you hear sex on TV shows, you hear sex in music, you hear sex just all around. I mean, and I don't necessarily know what type of structure your household is, or what type of structure you may have been built up in or raised in. But one of the things that I do know for certain is that um, a lot of people have had families where a lot of things was probably over sexualized. And so there wasn't a level of modesty being shown or a level of, um, yeah, is it? Yeah, I guess it's just modesty. There wasn't always, um, just a level where sex was contained in certain households or whatnot. And so for some of you, because that could be your story and your experience, you have to really, give thanks to God that He has definitely sustained you and definitely kept you and definitely kept you this long or whatnot. Because technically, everything that you have walked through or that you've seen in your household or in relatives' households or friends' households, or even environments and situations that you might have been in, technically speaking, you probably should have been the got by now. And when I say got, I mean got sexually. And I sit as a person that has escaped at least about a good 3 to 4 opportunities where I should have gotten got. And when I say 3 to 4, I'm talking about, I can tell you out of that three, if it's just three, but I think it's definitely about a good four. Out of those three, two of those should have been rapes. And I'm just being honest with you. So so basically, we're talking in regards, and I know I done kind of went off a little bit, but we're talking about sharing the pros of sharing your sexual status or whatnot, because now we're looking at when people are looking at us and valuing us and really taking us for who we really are, and the beauty and the value of such a journey or whatnot is that you're showing others that there's more to life than just sex. You're showing others that you have value in your character. You have value in the things that interest you. You have value in your work. You have value in your purpose. So, sex is just an added bonus, but that's an added bonus when you're with someone that you genuinely, authentically love or whatnot. But it's like, as you begin to grow and understand more about you, your self value becomes unprecedented. You find things about yourself that you love. You find things about yourself that you didn't know or whatnot. And just imagine that sex would have probably smeared those things or blinded you to some of those things, because you probably would have been wrapped up into some form of, you know, soul ties or emotional unrest. So another pro of sharing your sexual status with people is that you show other women they are not alone, especially if they are secretly practicing a form of celibacy or a form of purity. And so, once again, this is exactly the foundation on why Purity is Precious was even built. There were plenty of times when I felt like I couldn't talk about it or share it or anything like that, for the simple fact that I always felt like I was alone, because for a long time I had a few friends that were virgins, but at the same time, I didn't have many that were. And it was very frustrating because you get a lot of I'm trying to think if I even want to go here or whatever. But when you have friends and things of that nature, and they're, say for example, they're Christians, and they're saved or religious, should I say, and they have a certain view or beliefs in regards to things, it is extremely hard for someone like myself to say my sexual desires is acting up today without them saying something religious or saying something crazy or whatnot. And it just rubs you the wrong way, because it's like, okay, sis, I get that. And I do understand Bible as well. However, I'm right now in the natural and in the physical. And at this particular moment, this is how I feel. What we cannot do is erase how we feel, because sexual desires are natural. However, it is the concept and it is the thought patterns that proceeds the desires. That's the thing that we have to work on and be careful with. But in regards to that, if we're walking around in secret in regards to it, for the simple fact of not wanting people to know because we don't want to be judged or anything like that, then yes, we typically can rob ourselves of building a community accountability with someone who else may be in secret concerning their sexuality or their virginity. And so that's the reason why, once again, that I even started this movement or this podcast is because there are so many of us that are out there. And I think that we are kind of oblivious to how many it really is that's out there that's doing this walk and walking. But we just feel like we're alone in it. And so that's one of the pros that I personally think like, and I'm not saying in the least bit to just talk about this thing so openly and freely to any and everybody that you meet. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not, because once again, we have to protect the value. We have to protect the innocence. We have to protect the purity. You don't just blast it and broadcast it, but I'm saying, like, if you got some people that you have been in fellowship with for quite some time and you all are close and in a good relationship, then I would definitely recommend that you talk about it because a lot of times they will hold you accountable. I have friends that are not virgins and that are saved or whatnot, and they have said to me straight out, like, Joe, if you ever feel like you're in heat, and if you ever feel like you're about to go and do something with this dude, because I date time to time or whatever, and they're like, if you ever feel like that, call us, call me, so that I can talk to you and talk to you about it. I have people like that that are um, good accountability partners for me, even though they may not be pure themselves or whatnot. And then and I even go as far as even saying some of my friends that are not even saved, that do, are promiscuous and that do sleep around and things of that nature. I kid you not, they have said to me, there have been times when I went to them and I was like, Joe, I'm considering da 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 da. And if I said that to them, they were like, yeah, I don't think you should. Yeah, I don't think that you should let him. I don't think that you should da 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 da. I don't think because, and then they would give me sound reasons in behind it. They don't be like, yeah, sis, go ahead because it's long overdue for you. You in your 30s, da 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 da. They not like that with me. Not like that at all. And so I appreciate that. So you have to get the right type of circle, the right type of women around you that is going to rock with you, support you, and definitely try to pull you up out of a hole or a slump if you're on the verge of falling into one. And so now we're going to talk about the cons of sharing your sexual status with people. So one of the cons is that if it's shared with the wrong person or a man who only has one thing in mind, you will definitely become a target. I do not recommend sharing your sexual status with people who are fickle. I do not. I do not recommend sharing your sexual status with people that are jealous or envious of you. I do not. And we discussed that in episode number 2, where I was saying you have to pay attention to the conversations that you have and what people say, and that will help you to understand if someone is jealous of you. But I do not recommend just being someone that is just open and free flowing with your status for the simple fact that some people will try to use it to their advantage. Some people will try to make a bet. And me being who I am, I'm somebody I nip it right into the bud. When I go out on a date with a guy or something like that, I go right to the bud with it. Like, what's your intentions? What do you want? Why are you with me? Because if you think you think I'm going to be another notch in your belt, you got the wrong thing. You got the wrong person. You got another thing coming. And I don't sugarcoat it because I know how long it has been and how long I am waiting and who I am waiting for. I may not know him physically yet, but I know the countenance of who I'm waiting for. And therefore, whenever I meet that person, I will more than likely be able to, I would know because this is a relationship that I want to have developed with God. This is something that where I would feel secure, and I would know if I have God's backing on it because I have built the relationship with God so far and so deep that I would know who to entertain and who not to entertain. I have friends that are guys and they just remain in the guy zone, even though they may want an actual relationship with me. Here's the reality: if I wanted to be married right now or engaged, I could be. But I've learned that these are not the men for it. So, if you share it with the wrong guy or the wrong one, you do run the risk of being a target. I have not shared my sexual status with any guys. I have quite a few guys in the loop, and the only way that they're going to find out about my sexual status is when this podcast has aired. So, we'll drink to that. Okay, so another con of sharing your sexual status is that if you are not strong in your beliefs, if you are not secure in your stance, then you will easily be persuaded into sexual acts that goes against your moral standards. You have to be secure and strong in what it is that you know to be true about you. You have to be secure and strong in that, because at the end of the day, people gonna do this all day. They're gonna get to talking, they're gonna get to talking crazy. And then they're gonna be trying to act like they know more about you and more about what's between your legs than what you know. And that's why we can't entertain foolishness. We ain't in the business of entertaining foolishness and dicks. We just not. So therefore, you have to know how to handle yourself accordingly, and how to move around, and how to gauge yourself, engage your settings, and engage your environments or whatnot. Because once you engage those things and engage who you're around, you know how to go in and out of rooms and know how to conduct yourself and know what to share and what not to say, what to put out there and what not to put out there or whatnot. The reason why I'm able to put out there now to you all on this episode what the true status of my sexuality is because, child, I'm not easily fickle. I know who I am, and I know who I'm not going to entertain. I am not one of those girls that can be easily talked about in her panties. So therefore, that is something that has been definitely tried and unsuccessful, and that's where I stand with that. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about in regards to, another con is that friends and peers will try to persuade you to be like them by painting the picture that you are missing out by expressing nothing is better than sex. And I kind of touched on this in the previous episode where people will definitely try to make you feel like you are missing out and there is just a whole world out here. Um, Sexual promiscuity that you are missing out on. And even if that is the case, you ain't missing out on it because it's not your time to enjoy it or your time to partake in it or your time to be a part of it. And even in that, if you're anything like me, you don't want to have multiple men to be able to say, I had her, I had her, I had her, I had her, I had her. You don't want to be in that category or in that mix for the simple fact that it's not a good feeling. I know it's not. It can't be. And then on top of that, not only is it not a good feeling, but you just don't know the concepts and the type of things on how this man is even putting it out there to people. How he's even, and it's just a whole mess. But a lot of times when people have sexual horror stories, they want for others to have sexual horror stories, especially if it was their decision or whatnot. So you have to be careful. You have to understand that a lot of times even people that you may think is a friend or you may be close to, do not always have the best motives towards you. They do not. And that's okay because you know it. You've identified it. So now you know how to gauge and how to interact with them accordingly. That is one of the very things that I want you to grasp a hold to. because being persuaded, people once, if especially people know that you are somebody that's not solid in your thought patterns and in your thought processes, they will definitely try to use that to their advantage. And one of the things that I don't want you to do is to be taken advantage of. I don't want you to risk being used and abused. I don't want you to risk being around the wrong people. I want you to be at the right place at the right time so that when God feels that it is fit for you to have your mate, you're prepared and you're ready. However, being prepared and being ready means that you have to know who you have in your circle and who's not for you and who you need to get rid of out of your circle. And based upon that, you would discover that based upon conversations that you have. That happens based upon conversations, building relationship. But that's one of the cons of sharing your sexual status is that sometimes friends and peers will try to persuade you that you're missing out. And truth be told, and I'm talking from experience, as a virgin, there are days when I do feel like I'm missing out. There are days when I do feel like I'm waiting for nothing. But if I'm struggling with that myself, I don't need a friend to tell me that either. I don't need a peer to say that to me either. I need a peer to say, Precious, straight up though, I've been out there and I wished I would have waited. I actually have friends that say that. I have friends that say that to me. And because they say that, regardless of what I'm thinking in my head, it can nullify that. It can nullify what I'm thinking about me missing out there. It nullifies that because immediately they're letting me know, sis, I wish I was like you. Sis, I wish I had the endurance and the strength that you have. So pay attention to that. I don't care what nobody says to you, what no friend, what no peer, what no coworker, or whoever. You have to understand that a lot of times people wish they had what you have. That's your endurance, that's your substance, that's your security, that's your self love for yourself, and that's your understanding of why you are doing it. And to get ready to close out, because we just touched on the pros and the cons of sharing your sexual status with people. But let's talk about the truth about your sexual status. The truth about your sexual status is that until you are comfortable with it, it is nobody's business but yours. I don't ever want you to feel like, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, that you have to um, share it with people, or that you keeping it a secret is doing more damage to you or anything like that. Until you are ready and until you know that you are not going to be easily persuaded to make a move or to make a decision or to do something that goes against whatever standards that you have for your life, it is okay to keep it to yourself. It is nobody's business. If you choose never to talk about it to anyone else or to anybody, and you just decide to marry, to marry a virgin or whatever, that is perfectly fine. That is a beautiful thing. It is nobody's business but yours and your husband. And I definitely commend you. Um, another truth about your sexual status is that your purity is for you to enjoy first before you welcome anyone else along with you. Your purity is for you to enjoy first before you welcome anyone else along with you. You have to love the fact, child, that you have this type of value to yourself, that you have this type of essence of your being still intact, You have to love the fact and enjoy the fact that as you on this journey of purity, that is not just a sexual thing, but it's a mental, it's an emotional, and it's definitely a physical thing. But purity is being fulfilled inside first. Purity is being fulfilled inside first. Is being content with where you are, content with what you have, content with where God is leading you, content in your heart posture towards others, content in just knowing that um, God has not forgotten about you, that God still loves you in every area of your life, regardless. So your purity is for you to enjoy first. That means if you want to go out with yourself and enjoy yourself, go out on dates or, out to eat or whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to just sit in the house and just journal or just write or whatever it is that you do, is for you to enjoy first. It's for you to enjoy who you are, to get to know you, to get to understand you. So your purity is for you and for greater exploits. You have to understand, with me personally, I never thought in the least bit that I would be doing a Purity is Precious podcast. I never thought that I would be sitting down holding conversations, um, just talking to you all and things of that nature and uploading podcasts every week. I never thought about that. This was something that as I started to enjoy my own purity and enjoy my own journey, and I stopped fighting against my journey. I stopped fighting against where I am. I stopped fighting against the the um, the uncertainty of it. This is where things started to unravel for me. So now all of a sudden, here I am in a position where I'm ready to create a community of women that are virgins, that are celibate, that are practicing abstinence, and that are on their journey of purity. I'm in that place now because I know what I was lacking and what I was missing when I needed those answers in that type of community. And now here I am in a position right now where I'm creating the very thing that I was looking for. But I couldn't create it until I became one with it. I couldn't create it until I started to enjoy my own purity. And until I started to enjoy my own purity, that's when I was able to welcome you all along the journey with me. I am literally welcoming each and every last one of you on this journey with me through purity, through celibacy, through abstinence, through my own personal virginity. I'm walking you all, welcoming you all in with me as we to do this journey with me because I want you to know you ain't alone. You're not by yourself. But look at what the greater exploit of this has become. The greater exploit has become a podcast, a non for profit organization called Purity is Precious. And it's going to be another organization that I'm getting ready to launch soon for the 18 and above year olds. Because I'm not going to cap the age. I'm not. I'm not. Once you pass 17 and you hit 18, this new organization I'm going to launch is definitely going to be for you. So, and that brings me into my next point about the truth about your sexual status. That was so perfect, G. That was the perfect lead. Not what even trying to do that either. But anyway, the next point about the truth about your sexual status is that you need a community of like minded people to encourage you and to celebrate you in this arena. This is not an easy arena, y'all. This is not an easy arena. This is not an easy journey. This is not an easy task to take on. Like, you need people that will be there for you, a community of women that's rock solid, that's strong, that can say, sis, I think you're tripping right now. Sis, go take a cold shower. Sis, keep them legs closed. Sis, sis. You see, you caught that look in my eye just then because you know my mind said something totally different about the man. And I didn't want to put that out there. We still early in this podcast. I don't want to scare y'all so much right now, but yeah, I'm a tad bit raw with some of my thought patterns. And I just know how not to throw stuff out there. But in closing, the truth about your sexual status is that your sexual status will remain based upon what you believe about you. If you believe that you are worth it, then your sexual status will remain intact. If you don't think that you are worth it, then you run the risk of your sexual desires are not going to remain intact. If you think that you are worthy, then your sexual desires will remain intact until you discover a man that is just as worthy of you. And even in that concept, because I'm a Christian, it would be he will actually put a ring on it and marry you before you give up the goods. But my point is that how you view yourself and how you see yourself and how you love yourself and how you care about yourself will remain, will be what will be the foundation of what keeps your sexual purity intact. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that this podcast helped you, which was us talking about should we was talking about should my purity be kept secret. And so I hope deeply that you got some nuggets from this, that you understood some things on a deeper level, and that you was really able to get to a place of understanding some revelation and just some things that you should really consider in regards to whether or not you share it or not. So truth be told, there is no right or wrong in sharing your sexual status, but there is a right or wrong way in doing so, in the timing, in the concept, and with a certain particular group of people. But once you identify the right group of people that you know is for you, that you know will protect you, that you know will value your innocence and your purity, just like what they do, just like what you do. You actually got a good circle around you. I have a good circle around me, and I'm grateful for them. I really, really am. But I want you to know that in order for you to get to that place, you're going to have to do some self evaluations of yourself. And then you're also going to have to do some evaluations of your circles and of your friendships. And we'll talk more about that in a future episode. So that's it for Should My Purity Be Kept Secret? I want you to know that I am Precious Joy. I am definitely cheering for you all, rooting for you all. I love you all, and I'm grateful that you're on this journey with me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My personal Instagram page is precious underscore joy 30. My business Instagram page is at Purity is Precious. And my podcast Instagram page is at the Purity is Precious podcast. And if you want to hit me up on my website, it's purityisprecious.com. Also, y'all keep in mind to you know, give me some feedback on this. What do you think about this podcast? If there's anything that you would add, is there anything that you want to me to expound on more in a later podcast? Definitely engage with me. Hit me up in the DMs or any of those pages, or you can go to, like I said, my email. My email is contact us at purityisprecious.com, or you can always, just send me a message through my website as well. So pretty much I gave you 5 different ways to message me on uh, on social media so that I can be of any assistance to you. Um, and I think that that's it. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say. Oh yeah, before I close out, remember I told you in episode 1 that I was going to be cool with doing a once a month where we just vent. Send me something that you want to vent about in regards to sexual abstinence or sexual purity, or it could be anything, child, that you see in something in on social media or something like that, as long as it still falls in the concept of purity is in the concept of what we're talking about: emotional wholeness, purity, sexual abstinence, things of that nature. If you see some foolishness, child, send it to me, and then we'll be able to talk about it and bet on it. But that is all that I have for today, y'all. I will see you all on the next episode. And I look forward to spending some time with each of you in episode 4, which is to come up soon. I love you all. Have a good day.